From most ways you can look at it, Netflix is getting better. The Death Note adaptation from a few years ago was so awful that even though I've made 3 Death Note videos, a lot for my channel personally, I never mentioned its existence once, and that was by intention. It was an offensive abomination that felt like the most focus-grouped, out-of-touch, awful mess out there. As a company, Netflix has also continually denied and acted against the industry's fans in segmenting and delaying releases in the West far after their Japanese counterparts, causing them to pirate it or get it when nobody cares anymore. They did that with Little Witch, Beastars, and many others. But you know what? That's not true anymore. Komi-san has been released weekly, and, you know, a lot of people were upset with the translation, or lack thereof, but that simulcasting finally is happening. Before that, Netflix brought Evangelion out of its illegality limbo it sat in for so many years, despite being one of the most influential and talked about anime of all time. So you know what? Netflix Bebop definitely isn't a step backwards. They started backwards, and I believe, for now, this is just a wobbly step forward. It's way better than Netflix's Death Note, that's for sure, but it still isn't good. And I think it ruins enough aspects of the source material to make it not justify its existence. So, like and unlike a lot of people already have, I'm gonna talk about why I specifically think, my opinion, hey, how's it going, that Netflix doesn't get Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy is all about that mood, baby. It's about quiet moments, the long scenes to soak up the atmosphere, the moments where characters don't say a word. Or the moments when they fight, not with any sense of clever wit and smiles at the audience, but with a genuine tension that feels slightly uncomfortable. Cowboy Bebop is all about tone. Most of the issues I had with this redo, and most of the issues I saw with people, like my friends at Spilling the Milk, can all trace back to this. Bebop is rustic. It's a space cowboy. Everything's breaking down, rusted. Even the spaceships have this matte dirtiness to it. You can almost smell the cigarette smoke and gasoline coming off of most of the scenes you're in, and it sort of lulls you into that trance, that world. Cowboy Bebop is about characters who already finished what should have been their anime, and now their anime is about them grappling with the part that wasn't adapted. Sure, it includes those fun one-liners, that choreographed action, but a lot of it is that ever-focused weight. The characters carry that onto you, so you can make better changes for yourself in the future, after the show reaches its close. Netflix Cowboy Bebop is schlocky. Any ounce of subtlety or mystery is scrubbed from the plot in exchange for constant winks and nods, and so it comes off as a well-choreographed and produced B-action film a lot of the time. The punches look weak and acted out, the sound effects are often cheap and don't really match the exact things going on, although effort was put into adding a lot of them in there. If I could praise something, it's that outside of the context of Cowboy Bebop, the actors seem to be good at their job, at least for Spike and Jet. It seems like they are doing exactly what they were intended to in those scenes that Netflix crafted. But those scenes, the actions they take, the way that they do them, only feel like the Bebop crew in the superficial. Some of the effects, and especially set design, I think, are really good. With some different color grading or effect work to grunge up the place a bit, I think it could have really passed for the places that they were at. But that immersion is dropped by an overabundant, tasteless overusage of Dutch angles for many times without foreseeable purpose aside from aesthetic, and a reliance on cheap CG and green screen effects that once again contribute to the cheap B-movie feel. Not to say that all the CG is cheap though, there is some genuinely impressive effect work, stuff that I certainly couldn't do. So even for people who disliked it, you have to admit, the thing is, Netflix Cowboy Bebop definitely has much better production than any sort of B-movie. A lot of times you can feel the money that was put into it, and with the fact that we're talking about a space western show, the task they had was an incredibly difficult one. Despite me acknowledging that difficulty though, their world never really felt real to me, despite it being based or grounded on the world that did feel that way in the anime. The costume design at times was brilliant, really well adapted, but something about the overly new, straight-off-the-shelf look or the perfectly dirtied up aesthetic made many moments and screen grabs look like extremely nice cosplay pictures rather than anything that would actually ever exist in a world. There are also some horrendously cringy and badly written lines strewn about to make me coil with secondhand embarrassment, remembering my dad mentioning,
"Oh hey, you know that cowboy anime thing is getting a Netflix adaptation?"
and thinking about how that would color his perception of the things that I liked if he ever saw what Netflix had thrown together. Continuing off of the idea of thrown together, the episodes are double the length, as I'm sure you know or have already heard, and they aren't well mashed. Plot beats are remixed and remashed, but it doesn't seem like they thematically follow the same central focus, and this mashing causes a lot of things to either be overly drawn out or overly skimmed over, never with seemingly a proper balance. With things like Ed's last-minute 0.5 seconds of cursed screen time, I can't come down too hard. The way their character is written, I could really only see them being interpreted two separate ways: severely toned down or doubled down. A toned-down interpretation would be disappointing to fans, and take away much of what the character means to them. But ultimately, I think this would have caused the least rage. And Doubled Down would have to have that level of confidence, delivery, and cohesion simply not present in this, or almost any adaptation to make it stick believably. So, they sort of did both. They toned down Ed's appearance to almost nothing, but they doubled down what they did in the show. And without the perfect competence, the cracks were obviously easy to spot, and quickly made fun of on other websites. I know it may not seem like it right now. I mean, I don't know what you think. They got rid of dislikes on YouTube. But as much as I like Bebop, I'm not by any means a die-hard, hardcore, foaming-at-the-mouth fan. With the original show, I have plenty of personal criticisms for it as well. I don't think it's a crime to try adapting it. In some ways, I actually prefer some of the contemporaries of Bebop, shows like Samurai Champloo or Trigun, personally. Although Trigun isn't by the same creators, whatever. I'm mixed because I want anime to become more appealing to general audiences in some aspects. I want more people to be more normalized in watching these shows, but I fear the downsides that come as that happens. The much harsher criticism and pressuring of creators to bend their adaptations to the perceived American market, a la the way of many schlocky teeny-bopper dramas and modernizations of old franchises. If you've ever seen those sorts of shows, there's a certain type of low-tier writing that in recent years has become normalized and implemented to different extents. I don't know where it came from or how it's gotten so big despite people constantly pushing back, but I can only imagine the corporate machines focus testing the new rules of cinema into the modern character archetype. It's sad. But for increased anti-corporate messaging of Bebop's remake, it rings hollow when the writing stings of corporate focus testing or market professional in-group shallow dime-a-dozen production lines. Lots of words, munch too long. I didn't listen. Moral of the story, it makes me sad. Like I tried to preface when I started, I actually think that this is a step forward for Netflix, and that it should be praised. But it's a step forward in an industry that's already 40 steps behind. This isn't totally soulless. There are artists, actors, and actresses, maybe editors or costume designers. There are people who almost certainly did passionate and loving work here. It's just unfortunate that without coherent vision and competence, the Bebop remake feels more like a poor shadow, taking the shape of Bebop without any of the substance. I'm currently working on a 34-plus part scripted analysis series on Persona 4 Golden, and have been since September of this year. This is my first time publicly announcing it, in terms of what the project is. I hope to start uploading those videos starting in January of next year, so please subscribe to my side channel, Hiding in Private, for that. The side channel is currently unmonetized due to lack of watch hours, so this near 12 hours of scripted content will and has been supported by my patrons, who I will be posting plenty of updates soon for them on Patreon as well. Thanks to everyone who has stuck around during this time where my content has been much lighter, and honestly, my financial situation has gotten a lot tighter. All I'm going to say is, you are going to get 6 videos a month for the first probably 7 months of 2022 through this series alone on my side channel. So hopefully the averages have equaled out and it will have been worth your money. Or if you are willing to be generous enough, I would really appreciate more help. Friendly neighbor, Daniel Frousing, my name is Klein, Whizbang2093, Frelneck Lizard, Icarus, and all of my other patrons. Thank you. Thanks to my Twitch supporters as well, and I hope to see you again with more updates soon.